Hello, everyone, anyone. Annika from Black Dream Escape. Today we have a Black Thought Pathways interview with the lovely Julia Johnson. Julia, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. So my name's Julia Johnson. Born and raised Pittsburgher. Currently living in Minneapolis,
Well,
and I'm a Black woman. I'm a mother.
yeah,
I'm an organizer. I'm an activist, and the list goes on and on. But that's a good synopsis of who I am.
yeah, that is a good synopsis. You are all those things and more. Um, so the world, if anyone's watching or does watch, Julia is very special to me. She's a dear friend and sister of mine. So we're very happy to have her here today. And we are going to be talking about resting as an activist, what that means. Julia knows a little or a lot about that. So it should be a good talk. Excited. Rest is always
Same
possible.
here. I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah, we always want to note that rest is always possible. And so if there's background noise from in your area or from me or from Julia, go with it. Um, Rest is particularly important in chaos. So just remember that. And I'm going to start off with the lullaby. All this beauty, all this sound, nowhere to go but down. So,
Yes.
yay!
Love your song. It's a great
That's our
opener.
intro lullaby. Thanks, Julia. All right, so resting as an activist, Julia. What's the first thing that comes to mind when I say that? What's the feeling that you get? What's that all about?
Resting as an activist. I initially think of what the opposite of that is to ground myself, and the opposite is burnout. So for me, the opposite of burnout as an activist is to make sure that you are well balanced with your personal self, but also with being in relationship with those around you. I think of rest as an activist is making sure you're having boundaries. And as Joy Kemet, our mutual mentor, would say, that you're not throwing yourself on the wheels of oppression to make it stop, because that doesn't work. So I think that's something I've struggled with, is finding that balance and setting up those boundaries. So yeah, rest as an activist is really critical if you want to continue doing that work and still being a whole, complete person that's not suffering.
Okay, yeah, whole person. Okay. You when you say that, can you explain what wholeness looks like to you, especially when it comes to um being able to do activism, but it not be like your sole identity?
Right. I think being a whole person, it is about being well rounded and not just focusing on what can I give. It also has to be, how can you pour into me? How can I pour into myself? So again, all the activists and organizers I know, a big part of who they are and what they give is to be that generous person. It's oftentimes a very public community role that you have. So, you know, you get a lot of asks, you get a lot of um, just a lot that you're giving. And I think to be whole, you have to have an identity away from that. You have to, um, just being your own spirit and focusing on yourself and not just focusing on the needs of others, really focusing on your needs as well. And I think importantly, something that I've thought about since I've, learned from you, Annika, and all the work that you do promoting rest, Black and Indigenous rest, is really just thinking about what are you missing out on whenever you're not resting? What parts of yourself can you really connect with and feel. So that's something that I've just thought about, just from listening and learning from you. And whenever I really pay attention to what happens whenever I'm resting, it's just this budding that happens, this opening up of a flower where you just, you could really stretch, and just feel present in the moment. You can feel yourself and what you're thinking and feeling. So much of that happens and opens up whenever you're not, grinding away, just completely, you know, um, got the blinders on whenever you're working. So rest, you get to really open up and see so much more.
Mm. That's I'm glad you said that, Julia, and it makes me want to ask you about like your very personal experience. Like we said, y'all, for again whoever's watching, know Julia sideways and backways, but maybe not like in any other part. I know her enough to be like I know the stuff she's done personally. Anyway, so Julia, when you say you're an activist, you're a frontliner, so you've led people on 376, the highway in Pittsburgh. You've almost frozen to death fighting against white supremacists. Um, you have started whole campaigns that no one else thought was like worthwhile. You're abolitionist. You've spoken out about that. So I wonder, those are things, I'm saying all that to say that those are things that are like when you're doing that work, it takes a lot of self reflection, looking in the mirror, disengaging from like previous values that our society has put on us. So how does that match with what you're saying when you say like you're budding and you're blooming when you're resting? And is that similar or different from when you were blooming as a radical activist, when you were doing that hard work that sometimes people shy away from?
Hmm, it's a good question. By the way, my son has joined us, so
Hey,
he
good. Give me.
wanna say hi.
Oh,
Oh,
hey.
he just woke up,
I was
so
just about to say, it looks like you just got from a nap, which is like on point. Yeah.
yes. So for me, when there's a special zone that you get in whenever you're on the front lines and things are happening rapidly and you're responding and also just connecting with the people around you. It's very beautiful. It's very intense. It can be scary. It can be just incredibly beautiful all around. So those moments where, for me, I know I feel very alive in those moments. I feel all of my like neurons just firing off in my brain, and it's yeah, it can be a feeling of ecstasy at times. It could be also deeply emotionally just gripping, where your heart is just so heavy, because that's the nature of this work. So those moments of clarity, that's not always what causes the burnout, that I refer to. The burnout for me as an activist, typically it can be some of that emotional heaviness, but oftentimes it's also just the intra-community violence that we're putting on each other. That typically is what causes the burnout for me and from people that I've spoken with. Is that's the moment where it just gets personal. It's not just like, oh, we're talking about society and community. Um, we're talking about, this is my personal life. So those are the moments where if you're not supported and feel whole, um, you're just being chipped away at and giving and not having that reciprocity of someone filling you back up. Um, I think that's the moment where burnout starts to happen. But yeah, it's definitely beautiful to open up when you're on the front lines, whenever you're like knee deep in the work. There's so much that you see as possible for the world. But I get those same moments whenever I'm resting and I'm self-reflecting and I'm just getting time to think and not scrolling through social media, head in the phone and oh look watching the news and oh I gotta do what I have to do to survive every day, working and just taking care of business. Um, when I'm outside of those moments and I get to self-reflect, it is a lot similar to how I'm opening up as a person, whenever I'm on the front lines. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. So I'm wondering, off of that, when you talked about burnout, which is like incredibly important for people to understand the definition. So thank you for explaining what that looks like and what the cause is for folks. And when we think of chronic burnout, it ends up being chronic trauma and something that we have to like heal from, causes a wound. And so I wonder, I'm especially thinking about how activism takes so much of our energy and our time and our lives, of course, for very good reasons. But I wonder if you can recall when you um, were doing active frontline work, if your nightmares or your dreams or anything were interrupted. I'm just curious about that because burnout sometimes like causes these like disruptions in our subconscious. And if not, what are your dreams like now?
um, as far as my dreams, I definitely struggle with anxiety. It's something that um, comes from my childhood trauma and just ongoing trauma throughout my life, and it has a really detrimental impact on my rest, on my sleep in particular. And it's taken a lot of just trying to research and really understand what the impact has been. But it's made me realize that whenever I'm so stressed out that my fight or flight reflex is just hyperactive, just 24/7. I'm on edge, stressed out and worried, and my body is panicking and wanting to flee. Um, a lot of times I wouldn't know what the cause was. I'd be like, hey, everything's fine. I mean, I have a roof over my head and I have food to eat. I have people who love me in my life. Yeah, the world has gone to shit. And it's just awful watching the news and just seeing so much suffering happening because of systemic oppression and just humans being cruel to each other. I think whenever I'm trying to figure out what's the cause and I'm not able to figure out why my anxiety is so high, that's the moment that my rest just gets completely interrupted. And even if I'm sleeping for 8, 9, 10 hours, I just feel exhausted, just chronically exhausted. And I found, you know, not putting intentional moments for rest. And rest for me, my definition for my personal practice is a lot to do with, slowing down, making sure that my needs are met, making sure that I'm taking good medicine. And for me, medicine is herbal teas, is valerian root, like plant medicine, essential oils, meditation, exercise, just, a good nutritious diet. Those are the holistic healing methods that I use for myself, especially with my anxiety. And so, for me, my rest practice, I really need to utilize all of those tools in the toolbox if I'm going to be, preventing that burnout and getting my rest that I need, to be able to continue to do the work. And part of that is a boundary of, stepping back and saying, I can't do this right now. The nature of anxiety is that it snowballs. And that's why sometimes I don't understand, and I struggle with understanding where it's coming from, because maybe it's something I didn't deal with 5 years ago, and it's still eating away at my subconscious, and it's keeping me up at night. Um, so during those times, my dreams just get so frantic. They just, yeah, I have nightmares, and it wakes me up, and things I don't understand. And in moments where I'm resting more, and it's helping me to heal, in those moments, my dreams can get so intense and beautiful. Um, my little one here, he actually came to me in a dream a year, almost to the day before he was born.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was such a beautiful dream. And it was also the day before I went to Joy's ancestral retreat, where she was, teaching me and other students. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Yeah, it was just so beautiful. Oh, no, talk. You want something to say?
Maybe Gungi has something to say about his nap.
Yeah.
Hey, Gungi. For anyone watching, so Gungi and I haven't seen each other in a long time. He's probably like, I kind of know that face, but kind of don't. Yeah.
This is
Is this
Godmom.
moment? Yeah.
Oh, he's asking me to put on his movie. So if
Oh,
you
I
pardon
see.
me,
Yeah.
but that pretty much sums up my dreams. They can get really just intense and nightmarish
Yeah.
whenever I'm having those bad, episodes of like not being well rested,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then having those just beautiful, just my ancestors reaching out to me. That happens whenever I'm well rested, and that powerful spiritual magic that I feel connected to my ancestors, I definitely feel it. It's a lot more palpable whenever I'm being intentional and resting.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder if people have the thought sometimes to associate what's going on in their activism and the kind of work they're doing with their dreams. Because, and I ask that question especially because when you're going and going and going and fighting against this big machine, sometimes your emotions are hard to place, so you can go to your dreams to figure out exactly what's going on. And that kind of aligns with what Julia is saying, you know? Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah. So Julia, what what I hate this question, but I do want to ask it. What do you have to say for other young activists or little budding activists who are like, "Oh, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do the thing," and like just starting out, if you had to do it all over again and start where you started with your marijuana campaign,
Cannabis, cannabis
cannabis,
legalization, free
legalizing
the weed.
cannabis, um, starting there, if you were like, what were you like, 16 or so, right?
17. I just turned
17.
17. Yes.
Yeah. When if you were 17-year-old Julie again, you were gonna have rest in mind. What would you do? And like, what's the takeaway for other young people, Black and Indigenous people specifically?
Mm. I think what I remember most when I was a newbie, fresh organizer activist, I remember how what I was ill prepared for, because it's something that I just learned so quickly doing activism and organizing work, is that you have to hold to your truth, and you have to make sure that you're setting up those boundaries with people um, who aren't on your path. I guess I can say there's just a lot of people with internalized oppression. There's people who are oppressors in our personal lives. I think activists and organizers, it's something that we quickly shed away. We really start to set up those boundaries, because that's again where that burnout comes. It's very personal. So being able to set up boundaries is really important in my rest practice, because again, the opposite of rest is just putting in work, putting in work, putting in work. And it's so much work to maintain these personal relationships that are toxic and poisonous for us, that, are picking away at us and taking up our time and our space. Um, so really for me, I would want all the newbies out there to feel that it's okay to set up those boundaries so that you can rest, to set up those boundaries so that you don't feel that you have to put the world on your shoulders and you're not allowed to rest because you have work to do. That's not fair. It's completely unfair to expect someone to save the world on their own. And I don't think that's actually even something that a lot of people expect, but people expect that of themselves. Speaking for myself, I definitely expected it for myself. And it was just a learning process to say, I don't have to save every person. I don't have to save the entire world. Um, all I got to do is stay black and die. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it for me. And that's okay. You don't have to explain yourself. Just go take a nap. Shut off your phone, shut off your computer, go take a nap. I'm not replying to this asshole. I'm not going into this 300 comment thread, where you're invalidating my humanity. No, we're not doing this. So
No.
I encourage the folks who are getting fresh into it to know that, like, that might be something that you wrestle with.
Mm. Yeah, that's sound. Even for folks who aren't, teens or under the age of 25, that's just important to know, for real. Why do you think that's hard for people? Is it something we don't learn? Boundaries. Just not something we are expected to know, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think women and femmes, especially from the moment we're born, it's like we are just expected to serve. Oh, that's a word, huh?
He's like, yeah, I agree.
And
Smash the
that's tough.
patriarchy. That's what I heard gonna be saying.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it's something that, especially women and femmes, it's something that we have to to understand. Again, this is patriarchy in action. It's internalized sexism that we have to wrestle through and unlearn. So that is definitely one aspect of it. Across the board, though, I think just living in this oppressive system where we are just put to work, our value is completely tied to, well, what's your productivity to society? American individualism is a death culture. It, I mean, we're seeing right now with this pandemic that there are people who are openly advocating for an acceptable number of people to die so that the economy will continue to grind away. And it's just, It's like, this is the society that I live in. This is how other people think. You're willing to sacrifice human life for money? So I think the society as a whole, the values are just completely disgusting. And individuals, I think we know from a young age that, we just resist that unnatural state of things. And kids can be so eye-opening, um and whenever they're struggling against these demands that are put even at a young age, and you just question why. But usually that questioning gets stamped out, and that's why, as we transition into adulthood, we start to lose that. We just start to go with it. We just stop questioning and just go with it. We're really just, we're not given the tools that we need to interrogate and to just, I forget the word, but it's like, just process everything that you're intaking, and to question it. There's an R word, I forget what it is. But yeah, I mean, just having those those questions that we're able to ask, and also then have the courage to just move forward in a liberated way. We we're not free whenever we're caging ourselves, we're caging our minds. So it's really important to liberate your thinking, so that then you're able to liberate yourself, physically, and um, just live your life how you damn well please.
Yeah, please, everybody, do that. But why is this easier said than done, especially for Black and Indigenous people? Dang, they won't let us be great for real. I mean, that's kind of like simplifying it, but for real, it's so hard to just be ourselves in our lives because there are so many templates that are given for us. It's just not fair. Um, so on that note, I wonder, Julia, if you were gonna like create a society like you're now like President Julia Town, um, or I guess towns don't have presidents, like mayor. If you're mayor of Julia
Mayor
Town,
Julia.
mayor, or you can have your own country, yeah, President Julia World Country. Gonna keep love in donuts. Do you like donuts? Anyway, I'm gonna go on. What would it be like, and how would you prioritize the rest in your Julia world?
Wow. Okay. I love visioning new worlds. I've been in workshops where you get to like close your eyes and they ask you a bunch of questions, and you get to like envision in your mind's eye a new world. So um in this Julia land, I think I definitely see a deep connection to nature. We're not far from it, we're just in a small clearing, a small village. Yeah, he loves the woods. We go out to the creek all the time, and I think that would be part of everyone's daily practice. Actually, shout out to my Hoopa friends in California. The Hoopa tribe. They were telling me stories about their practice of the women in particular jumping into the river every morning. As part of their practice that they do every day in their tradition. So I think, just being in nature every day, that's a really important grounding piece. And a huge part of my rest practice is being connected with nature, being in the woods or whatever your, geography is. I think it's just really important to put your foot in the dirt every day. I mean, it seems strange that in our concrete jungle modern society, that's not something that we do as humans anymore for the most part, and it means so much to be able to be today in a place that it's safe for you to take off your shoes outside and put your feet on the ground. So I think that would be a big part of my town. Um, yeah, I mean, just everyone having their needs met, everyone working together, collaborating, getting things done. Um, life doesn't have to be suffering. It can be peaceful. It can be um, problem solving and troubleshooting. All of those things. If people are coming with good intentions to get it done, there's so much that we can accomplish. So for me, a big part of how rest would be part of that society is just like you do as much as you can, and then you set that boundary for yourself that, okay, I've done enough work today, now it's time for rest. Having that balance. And that is something that, again, especially as a woman, it's like so much is put on my shoulders as a woman and as a mom. I'm emotionally and physically taking care of people, and that's just the expectation. Cleaning, cooking, and working a 9 to 5, like all those things are expected of women today, um, and caregivers. So it's just really hard to be able to set up those boundaries whenever it's like, no, needs need to be taken care of, work needs to be done, because it's just not something that's equally distributed in our society. Certain people are picked to do the tasks and help isn't provided. So making sure that everyone is given an equal opportunity for rest. It shouldn't be something that, is certain people are deserving of rest, for whatever just wild reason that humans like to come up with. Like, I don't know how things got stacked the way that they are, but it's such a rigged game. And that would not happen in Julietown. Everybody
Yeah.
gets rest. Everyone gets sleeping mats and cots and hammocks, and how nice it is to like have a creek where you just get to set up a hammock and like listen to the brook babbling and stuff. They
Oh.
do it all the time here, especially white people do it all the time here in Minnesota. There's a creek right down from our house where I take him most days, and like they're like going down the lazy river in their tubes, and they're like kayaking, and they're just like chilling, and I'm like, why can't we have this? Like Black and Indigenous people especially, like, yeah, we really deserve that, and that's what it was before colonization and white supremacy came knocking, pounding down our door. So what my vision overall looks like is something that existed before and can exist again.
Mm-hmm. Going back or
Hmm.
um re re-energizing, I guess. Going back is weird because yeah, we didn't live there, so I don't know how. But re-energizing definitely because there
Yeah.
are values that we can still live to today. Yeah.
Oh, big yawn.
So most importantly, what movie did you put on for Gunnigy?
Angry Birds, just
Oh,
like his t-shirt.
oh, cool. Yeah, the people want to know, Julia. What movie Gunnigy is watching? Oh, that one looks like a nacho.
I know, right?
Yeah. Well, Julia, thank you for this so much. I really hope that people understand the roots of everything you're saying because you got to the core. I appreciate that so much.
Aw,
Those
thank you.
birds are adorable. Um, I'm gonna end with a lullaby, and Um, I would love to be able to sing to you and Gunnicky. So here we go. Her outro lullaby.
Aw.
Oh,
Ready?
yeah.
Yeah.
Rest will come, rest will come, rest will come, rest will come. Yay!
Yay! That was beautiful, Annika.
Thank you, Julia. Sweet dreams. You got anything else to say? Any new writing that you want to plug or anything like that?
Ooh, nothing to plug. Just potentially exciting news coming my way, and
Oh yeah,
oh yeah, Annika knows.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I encourage everyone to continue to uplift your critical work that you and Windify are doing, and I just appreciate it so much. Everything that you've taught me and the work that you're doing is inspiring, but also it's just like you're just giving out the best medicine. So I love you and I appreciate you. Yeah, Ganagi too. And yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you, Julia. I love you both with all of my heart. Thank you. The sun came down with you, so it's like we're all in alignment here. It's wonderful. I'm so grateful for you. Sweet dreams to both of y'all. Again, much love. I miss you, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for joining, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Bye
Bye.
bye.